back home. You want to tell them something? You want the mic?
Hey, Philly, we appreciate y'all. It's pretty easy. Dallas won a Super Bowl this year. You can celebrate that for me. And like always, go Birds.
This is Pascal.
I don't know how that snuck in there, but
Shenanigans. I would have been okay with it if it was the other white boy because he had the mixtape go viral after they won the Super Bowl. So
wait, one of them have mixtape?
I mean, hoops
only
mixtape.
One of them.
High school mixtape.
Oh, Cooper DeJean.
Yeah.
Well, listen, his name is Dallas, and he won a Super Bowl. So Dallas won a Super Bowl.
All right. So basketball.
When you say mixtape, do you mean
Hoops
his
mixtape.
basketball video mixtape? That's way less exciting. All right.
Yeah. I'm sorry. It's not the good mixtape, I guess.
I wanted to hear him do. I'm too old now. I have no idea what was popular when he was in high school. Like when Steph and his dorm kids did. I Love College
bit. Years ago.
That would have been like 5 years ago. So whatever.
It would have probably been. Yeah, it would have.
Donda doing Donda.
Potentially, he's caucus. All right.
Basketball.
To professional basketball players, we left off last week with the very sad trade deadline that we will have to continue to report on as we finish this up. But the deadline actually was after we finished recording, so there was like a whole nother wave of moves that happened that we didn't talk about. Luckily, we got to all the big ones. I will say that there was one massive trade that happened after that. There's one that was kind of big, but then is more interesting than big realistically. But the rest of it was a lot of typical transaction stuff that I kind of said. Then I'll get into the buyout market, only because it's mildly interesting. And somewhat could shake up what's kind of a weird and confusing title race, or at least maybe not the top end contenders, but that next level of who's going to kind of sneak into have a puncher's chance at the title. Those teams could really use an extra piece at this point. And honestly, even the Celtics actually already got a free agent pickup that I thought was really smart for them. So, before we get to that, and then we'll finish on the Mavs stuff because, good Lord, there is so much Mavs stuff. All right. We will go with the start here. The Toronto Raptors traded for Brandon Ingram. Now, this is not a nothing trade. People know who Brandon Ingram is. He's a very talented scoring guard, more or less. Supposed to be a wing, but he's more or less just a scoring guard, which is kind of why he's also kind of a capped-out player ceiling-wise. Pelicans took on Bruce Brown and Kelly Olynyk. That doesn't mean a lot. Maybe one of those guys gets bought out and is on that market, but that's all that's interesting with that. They get a first and a second. Those are both probably not worth a whole hell of a lot. The Raptors are maybe, I don't know. The Raptors have a weird team. My point is they're extending Brandon Ingram the second they trade him. You have Emmanuel Quickley, who you just brought in the bringing him in with RJ Barrett in that trade. So now you have in the OG Anunoby trade. So now you have that extension. You have RJ Barrett extended. You have Scotty Barnes extended, I believe now. Jakob Poeltl, I believe, is maybe still under contract at least for a couple of years.
Yeah, so I actually I'm going to pull this up.
Like, this is probably the most expensive.
Yeah,
this is probably the most expensive play-in team that we've ever seen built. And like, I actually do have some upside that I could believe with this group. I mean, given a good off season, I could see the Raptors being pretty good. But finishing the season out, they're going to be one of the worst teams. They're second worst team in the East right now, third worst team in the East, something like that. So, I mean, this season's cooked. Brandon Ingram's hasn't even played yet. I don't even know if he'll play until maybe a couple weeks after All-Star.
That's right.
At least for next year, the Raptors will be paying a combined $156 million for Barnes, Ingram, Quickley, Barrett, and Poeltl, with the cap projected to be under that.
Yeah, so, I mean, that's a lot of money for guys who haven't produced, but if you get it all healthy, if it all fits, obviously it could work. The positive, I would say, for them, Brandon Ingram turned down less money or turned down more money from the Pelicans allegedly throughout all of this. So at least I guess to some extent you get him for cheaper. But I mean, looking at $120 million broken up over 3 years for Brandon Ingram is still pretty gaudy, even in the new landscape. I like Brandon Ingram a lot, but defensively, he's really not ever put on much of a performance that's made me think that he can take that next level. And then offensively, I think when he's on, he's definitely one of my favorite players to watch cook. But it's not exactly the type of basketball that you've seen win 1,000 times in the playoffs. So an interesting trade. We'll see how it goes for the future of the Raptors. At least I guess they sort of have another young face next to Scotty Barnes, and you could maybe argue that some of these other contracts are movable if they want to get a better piece in a deal down the road. Best case scenario.
They're gonna have a pretty decent pick this year, right?
Yeah, they'll definitely have a decent pick this year as long as they have it. Yeah, they're not good this year. They won't be getting good. They won't be getting better. I mean, if they're healthier, but they're still not. I mean, like, they're not going to have Ingram at least for a bit. So we'll see. Second trade that happened chronologically since we last spoke. These both happened. I think they broke the night after we recorded. This one's crazy in a lot of ways. So the Lakers went all in on a big for Luka. Oh, wait, but just kidding. No, they didn't. Oh, wait, but just kidding. Maybe they still have to anyway. So, yeah, this is weird. And I mean weird. So the Hornets in this deal would have gotten Dalton Connect, Cam Reddish, a pick swap, and an unprotected first-round pick from the Lakers. The Lakers would have gotten Mark Williams, an incredibly talented but incredibly injury-plagued big man. There have been a lot of different versions of this story in the week that have come out to the point that there's a new Hornets ownership, ownership and management. Like Michael Jordan is now a minority owner there. There's new people running it. It's all different. So nobody is really beholden to anybody on that roster. It would seem as if they brought Mark Williams in, really propped up and plumped up his numbers, and then as Rob Pelinka allegedly at least says, but he said this. I don't know if it's allegedly if it happened the way he says it or not. Says that they were the ones to approach the Lakers about a trade, even though there was other reports that the Lakers have been calling everybody in the NBA about their bigs and finding out prices. So believe who you want to on that. Doesn't really matter for this argument. Point is, the trade goes through, allegedly. Players are on their way to locations. Mark Williams allegedly fails a physical. Okay, trade rescinded. I think that was maybe 24, 48 hours after the deadline, so fairly quickly. Weird, not unheard of, interesting, strange. Everyone's making memes about Dalton Connect being the rookie that got traded. Now he has to come back. Basically toast the Lakers' chances of competing this season because now they're going to have to go to the bargain bin for a big.
That's when we got Charlotte. Or is it Charlotte? Sorry.
Yeah, and then
Charlotte tweeting out that they're welcoming him back.
And then Charlotte's tweeting that they're welcoming the guy back. Also, he's not going to play now. They're just going to DNP him for the foreseeable future. Dalton Connect. Cam Reddish just had a kid. So Cam Reddish is being excused by the Lakers to be with his child. Dalton Connect is playing for the Lakers tonight. Probably has a few points for him already. After not playing in Luka's first game that they did. Yeah, Connect has got 7 minutes already.
So, yeah, they waited till Saturday to rescind it.
Saturday, that was
I'm looking at the full
hours?
timeline.
Was that 48 hours?
So Thursday, just after midnight, it was agreed upon. And then Saturday night. So, yeah, pretty much 48 hours. And I don't know if you mentioned this because I was reading. But there's also these teams making trades in between.
Yeah.
Based on the knowledge of this trade happening.
Yes. And so there is another Hornets trade involved. The Lakers did not make another move on the day, which, I mean, at this point, maybe they regret, maybe they don't. But that's what happened. Let's add a little more context and then give you an update on where things stand before we move on. Because, I mean, I want you guys to elaborate if you think it's interesting, if you think you can remember anything similar to this in any other trade in sports history. This one's going to be funny because I really don't know how it's going to end. There was a great example here. James Plowright at British Buzz on X. He's probably one of the better Hornets people online. He posted a screenshot of an article from a long time ago, I don't know how long ago, probably a decade ago-ish. Domantas Montjunas. This would have been 15, yeah, so about a decade ago. Montjunas was a decent Lithuanian player, played for the Rockets, I think had his best years for the Rockets here with Harden for a bit. He got traded to Detroit and then failed a physical. And his exact quote was, "The Pistons announced I did not pass the medical, although I surely did pass it and played even before it. I just got screwed. The injury was a pretense to call off the trade. They changed their minds." So that's kind of what people are looking at with the Lakers, because initially when the reaction to this trade was first of all, hilarious that they immediately got a big for Luka when they wouldn't get one for Anthony Davis for a while. 2, holy shit, the Lakers just gave up 2 first-round picks for an injury-plagued big, even though he's perfect for Luka, a very injured player historically. And there was also people who probably started to wonder if they already, not before Luka had even put the uniform on to play a game, mortgaged their future in a similar way the Mavericks did with the Kristaps Porzingis deal. That one was a little more spaced out. This one almost immediately, boom, boom. So there's all of that. That's kind of the chaos there. Well, as of today, Dave McMenamin, ESPN guy, Lakers specific beat writer for them, I believe, is his specific beat. He went on Rich Eisen's podcast today, and he said the Hornets are not giving up on the deal. That's part of why Mark Williams will not play. And there is a chance that they're going to try to put together some sort of mock trial arbitration thing. So
I didn't know you could do that. All right.
I didn't know you could do any of this too. So,
well, I mean, or is this like
or is this even going to happen?
When politicians are like, "Oh, we're going to try this."
Or is anything going to happen? I don't know. I don't know that question. I just know that I am very interested in how the NBA can rewrite ways to make trades even wonkier. So as much as I want the NFL to include more trades, I don't necessarily need them to go full NBA either. I do understand that.
I just looked up a couple of rescinded trades in history. Obviously, the most famous one, the basketball reasons.
Right.
But this one that I don't remember and would have obviously been, I think, absolutely huge, would have been Tyson Chandler going to the Thunder in 2009.
Right. Right. Tyson Chandler did fail his physical. Yeah. And that's exactly how the Mavericks ended up winning a championship. That's exactly true. Because it would have been him instead of Kendrick Perkins with those young kids. And no offense to Dirk at all. No offense to Dirk at all. But you absolutely had to have Tyson Chandler in order to stop what the Miami Heat were able to do with their athleticism. Sean Marion had a lot to do. There's plenty. I'm not taking away, but Tyson Chandler was the strategical linchpin. You needed Dirk to be going nutso. You needed Terry to get hot. All of that stuff had to happen. Jason Kidd had to be doing his thing. But Tyson Chandler was as irreplaceable as Dirk, in my opinion, just for the defensive side of the ball.
But
yeah, so that's a big rescinded one, potentially.
Yeah, I mean that's
So I've been doing a quick search because you're like, I've never seen anything like this before, and I was trying to see, is there an NFL equivalent? Because I'm like, maybe. And there's been one quick search shows up one rescinded NFL trade, but it was a know-nothing trade for a guy who's not even in the league anymore. But 2019, 2020, sorry, or 2019. Michael Roberts of the of the Detroit Lions at the time was traded to the New England Patriots for a conditional 2027th round pick. And the trade was rescinded because conditions weren't met. Those conditions being that he failed the physical. So,
well, they fucking dumped his ass anyway, so whatever.
Yeah, he got waived, so it didn't really matter at all. And then I don't even know if that guy's in the league anymore.
Yeah, I think that they were just trying to move money around on that one.
And just for fun, I wanted to confirm this was not quite exactly the same, but when the Rangers were going to trade A-Rod to Boston, and the way the deal worked out, he was going to take a pay cut, and the MLB PA was like, "That's not happening." And so then he was in New York about a couple days later.
Yeah, nice. That's funny. Alex Rodriguez.
I mean, arguably the best player in Rangers history. It's
talent-wise, yes.
MVP, 50 home runs.
It's fair, but since I wasn't there for that, I'm not going to ride on it. I'll let the statistics be there. But for me, I will always be biased. Yeah, I'll always be biased. So yeah, that's kind of the big move there. Not much else to get to. I mean,
I think I mentioned this earlier, but I do want to mention it again, looking at the Lakers roster right now. So if this trade did go through, they would have 1, 2, 3, 4. If this trade does go through, goes back, the Lakers would have 10 centers and power forwards on their roster.
The Lakers?
Yeah.
Read me how this is. I mean,
we're talking Jackson Hayes, Trey Jemison. Some of these probably are G League guys, right?
Hold on, say that. Sorry,
I'm looking at the full
Jackson
team
Hayes.
roster.
Yeah, Jackson Hayes.
Trey Jemison the third.
Yeah, he's a two-way guy. 10-day.
Christian Coloco, Alex Lamb. There's your centers. And then I don't know if Mark Williams is a center or listed as a forward.
He would be a 5. He would be a 5. Yeah.
Then you got Dorian, Rui,
right. He's a
Kleber, Markieff Morris, Jared Vanderbilt.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ, that's a lot.
And you know what's even better about that? About what you're telling me is there's a lot, but there's none.
Yeah, I mean, yes. I just meant quantity wise.
Yeah, they all play the position. That doesn't mean they.
Well, yeah, I mean,
the
Lakers are trying to Frankenstein a team in mid-season. Like, don't get me wrong, what they pulled off with Luka, I get it.
I mean, yeah, it's all you're thinking about now is just get some bodies to clog up the rest of the court and let him do his shit.
But no, there is some good concern whether it's this year, and of course, LeBron can also take way less money potentially next year, whatever he wants to take, essentially. So the Lakers have a great path forward. You know, we don't have to get into that.
He just hands the reins off to Luka and does a tour of San Antonio.
I mean, LeBron will have the option to do whatever he wants, and I think that the reality is that the Lakers are now Luka's team, and I think he knows that. I mean, he was allegedly trying to give this to AD for a while, and whether AD didn't take it, whether he never gave it away, whether maybe, and I've always said this is probably the reality, whether the front office never did a good job of making sure that this was the way that the pecking order was, to where now Pelinka made a power move so big it's unquestionable. You know, the only way that it would not work is if Luka doesn't work. And you know what? It's 2 games against the Jazz so far. First night, Luka looked like shit, but the Lakers
they get
look like motivated. And
next year of him before he has to make a decision, or if they,
God
forbid,
well, maybe. So if this can go well enough, though, there is the scenario I brought up where they can sign him for a short-term deal to max him out to mega money at year 10. Like they did that exactly with Anthony Davis when they traded for him. If they can pull that off, that'd be their best case scenario. But anyway, that is, if it doesn't work, if it does get rescinded, though, it's more interesting because, again, the argument comes, I love Mark Williams as a player. You mean
if the rescission gets rescinded?
If the rescission,
the word proper, no.
If the final appeal comes down, right, whatever the final verdict is here, if the Lakers end up having to give up these 2 first-round picks and they're semi-talented, decent first-round pick rookie connect, and then Cam Reddish is a useful role player, maybe not a playoff player, but a regular season rotation guy. Give up somewhat useful things in the now. it does worry you a little bit about the future to build with Luka. But then, of course, if they can dominate free agency, maybe there's always paths. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to follow it. And it might be the biggest story we have moving forward. I mean, we'll follow the All-Star festivities next week, but we'll see how this goes. I would expect it probably to get wrapped up while everybody's big chilling, doing All-Star weekend. All right, let's get into the other moves here. Sixers dumped Reggie Jackson on Washington. They immediately cut Reggie Jackson. They also did a little funny thing here, and this is probably why the trade would be interesting to you guys. They got rid of a kind of meh first-round pick for 4 second-round picks and another young player from Washington.
Nice.
So that was more of asset management, where you're like, okay, this first-round pick is kind of trash, so let me just multiply it, essentially. I've seen other teams do this already in the NBA. It's probably going to continue to be a trend. The Miami Heat obviously got rid of Jimmy Butler. They were able to move off of PJ Tucker's contract in that whole trade by putting, or in a series of trades that they've made. They were able to put PJ Tucker now in his contract in Toronto. They brought in Davion Mitchell. Y'all might remember off night Davion Mitchell. He helped Baylor win a national championship. He's one of the best college players. He's a very talented defensive guard, but he's a small guy. He's like 6'0", so sort of has a specific use, but I really think it's a perfect Heat culture guy, and they need desperately bodies right now to keep their season alive. So I think that's actually going to be one of the better under radar moves of the deadline. The Bucks ended up selling off Patrick Baldwin to the Spurs, who cut him immediately. That was a talented shooting prospect, can't play a lick of defense, so it looks like that might be the end of the journey for him. Did you have something?
Sorry, I'm distracted by international hockey.
Oh, okay.
Sweden was down 3-1 Canada, but they've come back and tied it.
Oh, the Swedes. We almost had another rescinded trade, as I think you alluded a second ago. The Suns managed to dump Nurkic's contract. They didn't get anything else really done, but they did dump Nurkic's contract, cost them a 26th-round first. They did get Cody Martin in return, who is a useful rotation player. They need those. Vasily Micic, who's a guy I really like, but does not really look like he's defensively been able to cut it in the NBA like he has been a Euro star overseas. And then they got a 26th second-round pick at least out of it. And that deal seemingly has gone through because Nurkic played tonight, and I think Micic and Martin also played for the Suns tonight or last night. Then we have the biggest trade. Oh, go.
Sorry, I got lost on the timeline, but I caught up to where it is.
Gotcha. Cavaliers made the biggest splash potentially of the whole trade deadline. I know Luka Doncic getting traded is a big deal. I'm not acting like that's not a big deal. But if we're talking about championship moves, I do wonder if this one might, in retrospect, be the one that did it. DeAndre Hunter is now a Cleveland Cavalier. They got off of Karis LeVert's contract. Karis LeVert's a very, very decent six-man kind of guy, but you're not getting a lot of defense out of him, and he's really only useful in that six-man role, which kind of limits him in when he's a starter, limits him in who he's playing next to. You also got rid of Niang, who's a good locker room guy, so that's
apparently nicknamed the minivan.
He is nicknamed the minivan.
The minivan. That's a crazy name. I like that.
And I think he's one of the more underrated personalities in the NBA too. I don't think enough.
I've never heard of him. Definitely wouldn't have thought that's what he looked like.
Yeah. That's why they call him the minivan for sure. He doesn't necessarily look like an NBA player. He kind of grinded his way into a spot at Iowa State player, pretty good there, and then ended up carving a path out. Where did Niang start? Utah? I think Donovan Mitchell.
Pacers.
Utah. Pacers was his first job.
He was drafted by the Pacers in the second round.
And then he caught on with them during Paul George's last stuff. He's been in the league for a bit.
He went to Pacers 2016 draft. He did a bunch of time in development league. Shit. Then Jazz.
Hell yeah. Free agency, NBA free agent news I didn't expect to see, what I like to see. Breaking news. Markelle Fultz is a Sacramento King.
Huh.
This is the first chance he's really gotten. I think he's looked pretty good over the last couple of years. So obviously Markelle Fultz, the shot stuff, we all know about that. He had a lot of pressure on him. He got traded for Jason Tatum, essentially, right? Or no, that was exactly what happened. Couple ACL tears in
Who was he playing for?
Orlando.
Okay.
They moved him. Yeah, Philly eventually moved him over to Orlando, where he actually had a very successful stint when they were really bad.
That might as well be Alaska for me as far as following sports, though. I'm not keeping up with what's going on in Orlando.
Yeah, and honestly, they've had a weird year too. But yes, the Magic. He was not retained this year by the Magic. No one ever picked him up. I kind of thought, it's potentially over for him. A couple ACL tears. Still a very talented scoring guard. Looks like Sacramento has room for him. The funny part about it is still makes Sacramento the team that I think is most likely to score 140 every night and then give up 150 every night, which is what it feels like they're going for. So
feels like your Wikipedia doesn't need to mention his father abandoned the family. Like, can't you just talk about how his mother raised the family?
I blame ESPN. The NFL draft ruined everybody's brain. Definitely. Now we have to turn all these guys into fucking.
He was a first overall pick. Jesus.
Yeah. No, and honestly, even I wish I had any sort of platform at that point, because I was, what I was doing? I was doing doubles at Del Frisco's and going to that fucking library below the South Lake Town Square, and I was grinding film. And I'm be honest with you, I was pissed off. I was gaslit because people were like, and I like Lonzo Ball to this day, but people were like, Fultz. And I was like, have we fucking forgot that there's a 6'8" wing here who's built like LeBron and plays like Kobe? We're just going to not think that Jason Tatum has the potential to be the next best NBA player? Like, we're dead ass not. We're just not going to talk about it. Like, he had a great year at Duke. The film backed it up. It was crazy, man. And yet they let Boston get it. They let Boston pull a fast one on him.
He played for the Chilean national team.
Who? What? Fultz?
Yeah, in the FIBA under 18.
I didn't know that. That's cool. I mean, Fultz was probably one of the fastest guards I've ever seen too. So I get where it happened. I get where the hype happened. He had a nasty Euro step, and he was lethal shooting the ball in college. Things did not translate well at all in Philadelphia. Philadelphia obviously wasn't that great of a situation either, and I think it exacerbated it. And then the ACL tears,
blaming his thoracic outlet syndrome.
And
okay. Well, I mean, it was a part of it.
Yeah, the whole thing was like he got the yips.
He got the yips. So that's an interesting news. We'll get to Ben Simmons too.
I forgot there was even news on him.
And with a similar team, but we'll get to that in a second. Clippers added another sneaky move. I still don't love the Clippers a lot. Still have a lot of doubts, but this was a sneaky good one. This is Bogdan Bogdanovic, a really good six-man player. Norman Powell had been their sixth man. Paul George was their starter. They dip out on Paul George. Norman Powell all of a sudden playing at a nice level. Great starter, cool. But now we don't have a true sixth man anymore. Now you do. Bogdan Bogdanovic is lethal when he puts Serbian uniform on. Yeah. Look at that fucked up haircut. You don't want to see that. You don't want to see that on the court. That's buckets right there. Okay.
That's bucket.
But his NBA career has just not been that great. Sacramento kind of felt like they never gave him great opportunities to shine. Atlanta was a weird situation next to Trae Young anyway. And now it's like, okay, this is a defensive group. You're not that, look, not to be playing the stereotype card here, but obviously these European guys continue to have this issue. And the only reason Nikola doesn't have it as much is because he's big as fuck. And Luka's the same way. Like if they just put a little more effort in, they're big enough to play good defense. You know what I mean? But like these guys just kind of suck at defense in Europe, and they're not as athletic, or they're not whatever the issue is. They struggle to keep up with our guys consistently, and it causes them it devalues how great they can be offensively.
I'd love to see what it would look like for Luka to be able to be on a team where he's not just carrying such a load on one end, that he could actually spend some time doing the other stuff.
Yeah,
But
I feel you, but it's not just that. I think
it's not,
if
but
it
it's
was just
also
that,
we
because
don't know. He's literally just been on a bunch of garbage teams that he's carried through.
yeah, but that's where that's where I can empathize with Nico to some extent with the logic, because I do get where the frustration comes from. I do understand that fundamentally there's things that he's not doing, even if those were solved, that are still a problem. But yeah, I mean, it
We'll
was a
get
little bit of
we'll get more into that, I'm sure.
yes, oh yes. The 3 seconds go to from Atlanta because they're getting off a contract. Terrence Mann, talented role player for the Clippers, basically just fell out of rotation and got DNP'd throughout the season. Hopefully he gets to revitalize his career. And then Bones Highland cut, who teaches us a fine lesson. You can be one of the greatest cook that fool offensive players of all time. Don't forget, Bones Highland had Rookie of the Year aspirations. People were calling him the next Jamal Crawford, Sixth Man of the Year candidate. But then he didn't like playing next to Nikola Jokic. And that should have been a red flag, because if you don't like playing against a guy who can revive any career the way he plays basketball, then you just don't get the point. And unfortunately for Bones Highland, I think ISO Brain has just taken a very talented player and kind of minimalized his impact and his ability to succeed at the NBA level. The Clippers were a great opportunity. They needed a six-man opportunity this year. They had a great defensive group around him. Again, still can't even crack the lineup. So probably the end of the journey there. Who knows if someone will take a chance on him. He's young. Hawks also moved off Cody Zeller's money. Rockets get a second-round pick back. There's a lot of people who got their picks back in these trades. A lot of goofy little moves. There was a revision to the Jimmy Butler trade. Dennis the Menace ended up getting sent up to Detroit. KJ, Josh Richardson, and a second-round pick went out to Utah. Nothing monumental, but
You're just
technically
gonna
it
skip
happened.
over the Hawks getting the rights to Alpha Kaba.
Okay, well, Alpha Kaba, I remember
I had
Alpha
to go
Kaba
find a
coming
picture
up.
of him for that little thumbnail.
Alpha Kaba is one of those names that you would know if you play a lot of 2K and
I was
you
gonna say I
draft
used to I used to stash those guys all the time in hopes that one might be Manu Ginobili-esque.
yeah, those are just guys that they end up finding in those systems as young kids, and then we end up finding they're on lines on lists, and these people put them off lists and put them on the games. This is probably the most depressing move of the trade deadline, I thought, personally. The Grizzlies dumped Marcus Smart's money on the Wizards. The Wizards also got Colby Jones and Alex Len, who they then cut. Obviously, he's a Laker now, as you mentioned. The Grizzlies got multiple second-round picks. They got Johnny Davis, who's kind of a failed first-round pick for Washington, and they got Marvin Bagley, infamously chosen over Luka Doncic in 2017, 18, whatever draft. Just a depressing move, because I thought Marcus Smart could have been a fun X factor to the title race this year. He's not a perfect player. He's getting old, but it would have been fun to see Marcus Smart be able to contribute. But again, it's the nature of the business. The Wizards hoarding contracts and picks to rebuild. It's the right way to do it, but it is funny again to go to the spot track and then type in the Wizards, and you look and you rank it by, salary, and it's just like the top 4 or 5 guys aren't even probably going to play a lot of basketball for them. One more or two more Clipper things, really, and we can move on from the whole transaction side of this. The Bucks and the Clippers did a straight up trade. We don't get much of those anymore in the NBA.
And with maybe the best name in basketball,
Marjan Beauchamp.
Marjan Beauchamp.
I wish it was that fancy, but it's just Marjan Beauchamp. Probably Creole. I don't remember where he's from.
It would be Beauchamp.
I think he's a Canadian guy, actually. But anyway.
No, he's from Yakima, Washington, wherever the hell that is.
But where does his nationality stuff? Okay, I thought Beauchamp was a foreign. I thought he played on one of the foreign teams. Maybe Australia?
Not seeing that here. He played for the Wisconsin Herd in the G League.
Well, yeah.
He trained in San Francisco.
Yeah, maybe
No, he just played up in
I'm
Washington.
tripping. Maybe
Yeah.
I'm tripping. I know he was a part of the okay. He's an indigenous person. Yeah.
Okay, there you go. Yeah,
Ancestry.
from Mission Indians and La Jolla, La Jolla
Yeah.
band. I thought it was
I
going
got
to be
confused. And he played for the
not Spanish
Ignite.
until I
I
got
was
that far.
thinking of the G League Ignite. He was one of the first Igniters. One of the first and few Igniters. Kevin Porter Jr., notable piece of shit. On his 5th or 6th team by now. Bucks desperately need people. Marjon Beauchamp couldn't crack a lineup. Ty Lue's a hell of a coach. They like defense there. Marjon Beauchamp was supposed to be a fairly good defensive 3-and-D kind of guy. Maybe he finally turns the corner in LA. We shall see. The buyout is the next thing that we turn to in the transactional ability to get better for any of these groups. It's not a great market. The cap has changed to where some teams can't even get players. If you're the Dallas Mavericks, for say, you basically can't sign anybody, except for like completely bare minimum players. I think anybody who gets cut that had like a decent chunk of salary, you basically can't. The Clippers, the Celtics, all the teams that are maxed out on money right now do not have the ability to add most of these players. But I do think that some of them will be interesting. Boston actually did add Torrey Craig because he was on basically a minimum salary deal with Chicago. And I think that's sneaky good for Boston because obviously they run the team back. Peyton Pritchard's probably going to win 6th Man of the Year. So you already have a natural improvement from a team that was the title winner. There's not a lot of injury regression right now. KP's back. He looks fine. They're a little older at parts. They needed a little depth at the wing position. Torrey Craig's perfect for that. And, hey, now you got Megan Thee Stallion that's going to be at every playoff game for you. So you got extra publicity and eyes on the team.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the buyout market is what it is. You'll have guys like Lonnie Walker who are playing overseas that might want to come back and be interesting looks. You got to have guys like Reggie Jackson, PJ Tucker, Josh Richardson, what's left of them kind of guys. I had a wish list. Doesn't look like the wish list is going to come to fruition. Malcolm Brogdon doesn't seem like he's getting bought out in Washington. Bruce Brown, no word out of New Orleans yet, but I still think that's likely. Trey Jones not bought out of Chicago yet, but I think that's likely. And Bojan Bogdanovic, the other Bogdanovic, I think he will also be bought out by the Nets eventually. The only one that was bought out was Benjamin Simmons by the Nets, actually, already. And I'm excited about Ben Simmons' buyout, and it's the only reason I even bought up the whole buyout stuff. I know, and I'm not trying to resell you guys on Ben Simmons, but I do think you have to understand.
He's such a wild story. I mean,
you have
it
to
was
understand.
there. We've seen it. It's just gone.
And you're giving him a position with the. So I thought the Cavaliers would have been perfect for him, but I think with them making the DeAndre Hunter move and having so much depth that it maybe is one too many players, and then maybe there's a minutes issue that causes an unnecessary ruffle there. But the Clippers, it's obvious that they still need a couple extra dudes, right? So Ben Simmons can slide right in there. You're adding a really good defensive point guard. Now, the thing I will say is you kind of already have that on the roster with Chris Dunn, where you don't have a lot of offense, you got a lot of defense. Ben Simmons is a bit bigger than that. But the one thing I am excited with, James Harden. James Harden is having an incredible season. James Harden is reigniting the fire behind his whole career legacy. I mean, it was in the gutter just not 2 years ago. And now if you're watching it, you're looking at James Harden and you're almost wondering, is there a future where the Clippers are the fucking team that come out and make a run and potentially, steal the West, if not potentially the title? Probably not the title, but maybe the West. I could see them coming out of the West at the end of this, best case. And I think a lot of the reason is Ben Simmons. I think there's an interesting little aspect to picking up this type of player and then really doubling down on your ability to play defense and leaning on Harden and Kawhi to do the offensive load and Norm Powell to continue to be this progression of talent that we've seen from him. Well, he's always sort of flashed, but now in a much more consistent manner. So, the Clippers are quiet at this point. They're not perfect. Don't get me wrong. But I am interested. They've piqued my interest with their off-season or with their trade deadline moves, although they're a bit under the radar. And I know everyone likes to poo-poo the buyout market every year, but it has worked. The Miami Heat got Birdman Anderson one time. The Boston Celtics got P.J. Brown at the end of his career. He ended up hitting one of the biggest shots of his career or of that season. Buyouts do sort of matter. They don't, but they are overrated at the same time. Both things could be true. Most interesting buyout guy, Jalen Hood-Schifino, also the Lakers' former first-round pick, who then was immediately cut by the Utah Jazz, who do have a lot of guards on their current roster, but it's not a good roster, so you thought they'd at least bring the guy in and see if he could play basketball. But maybe that was just a complete whiff on the Lakers' part. And, I mean, no one will ever care because it got thrown in as a toss into the Luka deal. But, yeah, that's a, 13th or 14th overall pick that you're never getting back? Don't get too many of those. But, yeah. This all brings to a head the story that is most pressing to us locally. The Dallas Mavericks are still reeling from the fallout of trading Luka Doncic. The NBA does go on, but for Dallas fans, there's a larger fight to be had.
Oh, yeah.
For some seem to be just fine.
There, some are adjusting. I've pitched it in ways that I think have helped some Mavs fans come along, but ultimately, there's only so much you can sell moving on from a franchise cornerstone so just abruptly as they did. And then obviously the stuff we're going to cover does not make the situation much better. In fact, I don't know that anybody has done anything on any side that has come close to making this better. It's pretty much all just been pouring gasoline on fires. Yeah, so the Mavs have had 2 home games. Did they play at home tonight? I think they weren't at home tonight. Were they home?
Yeah,
So they hit the Warriors tonight here. So yeah, they got one here tonight. So I don't exactly know how tonight's gone yet since we're doing this, but
it's 57-56 at halftime right now.
Well, I just meant with this particular topic. So there were no fans on the Jumbotron for the first game. Tim Cato noted that, tweeted it out. Second game, it was about close to halftime when they finally they brought the karaoke cam back. Mavs can't help but put some old dad rock on and have the old white guys dance around, right? That's the Mavs bag. Well, they got one to dance around, but then he also goes, "Fire Nico," and then the whole, they had a pan out, and then I think that guy didn't get escorted out at that point.
No, not
later.
Yet.
Yeah,
was later escorted out for wearing a Fire Nico shirt. Or
no, he's one of the ones with sign. Him and the other guy had a sign.
I
think he had one on his hat too.
Yeah, they had a sign. They ended up pulling out signs.
Oh, somebody else had it.
So that was tough. That's been tough. We'll continue to talk about
Those
that.
guys said they tried to bring signs in on Saturday. Obviously, they got thrown away before they got in. So then they came in on whatever day that was. They were
more discreet the next time.
They just had like "Go Mavs" on one side, and then Sharpied it inside once they got there.
I love it.
Love it.
Don't
love them going to the games, but I love it.
So then
they're season ticket holders. So I think their thinking was more like me not going to I'd rather go and make a statement.
Yeah, absolutely.
Not spend money. I've already spent this money.
The money's already spent.
Money. Yeah, not buy anything in the arena, but.
So yeah, they got the full Anthony Davis experience in Game 1 as well for the Mavs fans. It was incredible. It was everything I had promised it could be, and then everything Stephen A. Smith has promised it could be for years.
Rob Pelinka probably feels like one of those people in the movies who gets the bomb to stop right at like 1 second left on the timer.
Well, not really, because technically he traded Anthony Davis with this injury already to the team. And it's a part of why I bring it up, mostly because I do firmly believe Anthony Davis rushed himself back from this abductor issue because of the pressure, and instantly re-aggravated it, which is fine. It's not going to take surgery. It's an indefinite injury. So yes, that is scary. the month timetable is best case scenario, which is
To
not great.
reevaluate.
Yeah, reevaluate in a month is not what you want to hear. There is
No, that
enough
means he's
time.
done for the year, and they're just not going to tell you that yet.
It means that
Anthony
there's a
Gianti.
70% chance that he's done for the year. Is how I would say that. I would say there's
Although they
it
hit
could
it-
increase.
They did the day of hit it with the hockey lower body injury designation.
Yeah, no, they tried to fool everybody. It's the growing, it's the adductor, blah blah blah. It's
Not
there.
fooling us. We have we have a decade of Anthony Davis injury history right there. Just let us know. Like, this guy might be out for a while.
And this has been this particular injury has been an issue. He's actually done a good job of keeping all the little ankle. It was the ankle issues that kept fucking him up with the Lakers and earning him the street clothes nickname. And honestly, I think that was more his own mistakes in how he was keeping his body and managing his body than the reality of his overall health. But this adductor has been around. He's a guy who had a massive growth spurt in high school, so we know it's a little more abnormal than most NBA players. I mean, everybody gets their growth spurts, but he went from like a 6'1" point guard his sophomore year to being 6'11" basically within the summer, So it's possible that he just had stuff throughout his career that are always going to be a part of the problem, but not really hold him back from what he's already accomplished and what he still can accomplish. But at the same time, they've got to be responsible. And when they made this move, they hit the big red button. And Mavs fans weren't going to be patient. And the only way they thought they could solve the situation was by rushing him onto the court. And he looked great. But again, this is why maybe it would have been better just to wait another week. And we may have not even been having this conversation at all. He might have been starting against the Warriors, who don't have that great of big man depth, and maybe have gone 40-20 on his first night. And then it's a healthier season to finish it off. But that's if woulda, coulda, shoulda, Jason Kidd declined to speak to the media for the first time as the Miffle coach.
Which doesn't happen in any pro sport nowadays.
Not a lot. Well, he did speak today, so at least we understand a little bit more why. It was very solemn, actually, so I'll read out some of this. My favorite quote was not this question and this solemn answer. It was a different one where he essentially, just like the team Luka is now on, who's playing at the 5? Everybody's playing center for the Mavericks now, and that's true. You're gonna watch coaches do the funniest things in the NBA when they don't have a big man.
Remember when Kyrie was like, or I guess it was Kyrie and Kevin were like, well, one day Steve will coach the team, and the next day I'll coach the team.
Oh yeah,
Yep.
The coach stuff. Yeah, look, that's all part of the equation. I get it, but that's a funny quote because
That's just what it made me. That's just what it first made me think of. Like, okay, well, tomorrow.
When
I
you're
don't even know
that
who's
fucked
on
up,
the team anymore. Tomorrow
everybody's gonna have
Gafford's
to
playing
do
the
it.
5. Tomorrow.
Well, that's the thing. Yeah, they don't even have bodies. Like, I don't even know who all. If they're doing well against the Warriors already tonight, they've been leading most of this game. You're getting a lot of Omax has been really stepping up big, and he can play 5. Kyrie's back to hot again. He hasn't been hot in a while. Max Christie's been a fucking stud. Klay Thompson is good. Kessler Edwards playing 5 is funny. I think Kessler Edwards is 6'6", but that's who they have at the 5 right now.
Omax is 6'7", so I mean that's not that big of a difference.
No, but Omax is long arm.
Kessler is 6'7".
Yeah, they got Machine Gun Kelly on the roster right now. Like it's not great, but they're getting by. I mean, they're beating the Warriors fairly solidly right now. I did want to read this quote though. Jason Kidd, basically saying it's fair for the fans, saying he's understanding their grief. He said we have the best fans in the league, and they can come and cheer and boo if they don't like the way we're playing, if we're being lazy, but I don't think the fans are booing. The guys are playing as hard as they can. They have a right to speak on what they believe. I think it's fair. That's why they're the fans. They paid to come to the game. As long as it's not disturbing the next fan that's come to watch the game and cheer the guys on. So Jason Kidd attempting to put out the flames. How much that'll do, we'll see.
It's
not much.
It's not a great sign when he's the voice of.
Yeah, still not a lot from Nico here. Dirk Nowitzki went to Luka's first game in LA. That felt notable and as a very heartbreaking thing for a lot of Mavericks fans to watch. But
It made me sick.
if it makes Mavs fans feel any better, Dirk would have been a Laker had he not doubled down and decided to stay. I mean, so that was Kobe. Kobe settled for Pau Gasol. That's historically facts. We know how much pressure he put on them to try to get Dirk specifically after Kobe or after Shaq.
He was a big fan of Dirk, man.
And he could not pry Dirk from Dallas. That was tough for Mavs fans to see. Is what it is, though. I mean, Dirk's a good guy. I think the only thing it sucks is that it does probably look poor for the Mavs' whole reputation and how much we believe their side of things when Dirk is, clearly not worried about Luka or his actions or whatever. I mean, I'm sure Dirk probably knew these things. I'm sure Dirk probably hasn't seen eye to eye with Luka about all things, but I think it kind of proves that it was never the little tyrant stuff that they were trying to push. The narratives they were trying to push.
The smear campaign. That's what that is. That's what
it did get really close to it. Some of it was legit, but it did cross the line into smear campaign at some point.
Some of the criticism, but it's like so over the top. And I'm like, no, this is getting ridiculous. Like,
it beat it over the head for sure in a way that felt unnecessary. Steve Kerr came out and talked about the Mavs. Obviously, they're playing tonight. He said that he mentioned he got death threats when he traded Shaq traded Sean Marion to Miami for Shaq. Historically, those fans were kind of right. Not obviously it weren't death threats are not okay.
They were right to be angry for the trade, not in the response.
Technically, Steve, you fucked that trade up. And you fucked up the Steve Nash era Suns that way. He's even admitted that in recent years. But that's fine. That's history. I think the only notable part of that is that a lot of Mavs fans have drawn ire with how much Nico and or quote unquote mouthpieces of the organization are mentioning how much.
I'll say his name.
I don't think Tim McMahon's perfect, and I definitely didn't like how rude he was to that Grant guy.
Yeah.
I really didn't think that was necessary, but I thought that I don't think that he's quite like the villain that Miffles make him out to be.
He's not doing himself any favors.
Well,
let's just put it that way.
And I will say the Hoop Collective certainly in the last couple of seasons has gotten much more prone to baiting fans into reacting to their clips in a way that I really didn't feel like ever was the format of that podcast previously. And it makes me wonder if ESPN isn't sort of pushing them into being more rage bait stuff because basketball is such a big deal. And that is their flag. That is their premier basketball podcast, essentially, now that Zach Lowe's gone. So I think that there's a possibility that they're rage baiting you like First Take does, basically.
Yeah, because and correct me if I'm wrong, but like my memories of Tim McMahon over the last couple of years, whenever he covers the Mavericks, were never like this.
Well, no, Tim was criticized because he was the only Mavs media member who would really push back on anything. I mean, a lot of Mavs people, including the bigger names, not just these guys like Grant who have been pushing their own as small-time journalists, there's been a lot of people who have not been as vocal against the Mavericks throughout their time. Now, granted, Tim has been around them for a long-ass time, too. You know what I mean? So he's had more chances than a lot of these young guys, which is why I thought it was bullshit of him to demean the other guy, especially because, Tim McMahon, you've got the ESPN logo behind you, brother. You got a lot more stake in backing in anything you do. And maybe those guys don't have the ability to be as critical on the Mavs as you do, or the players as you do. So that's just one aspect of it. Whatever there. I will say, Patrick, your favorite podcast, The Dumb Zone, seems like they've had the biggest come up of all of this They've been able
I
to
don't know if
get
it's added to
everybody
their numbers,
necessary.
but they've definitely gotten a lot of sides of the conversation in there.
I think it helps. I think it helps because they're fairly new, right? And so it's the
Yeah,
DFW
yeah.
market specific. So now a lot of Mavs fans are like, "Oh, what is this thing? Okay, I like this."
For
So-
sure. I mean, yeah. So started with having Ethan Strauss on. I think was first. Maybe his talk was first.
which is again, bleh, but continue.
um,
Whatever, dude. House of Strauss, bro. Quit
I don't listen to it.
grifting.
I have no idea.
Quit grifting. Why do you, we don't? It doesn't matter, bro. You can vote Republican and quit grifting, brother. We're talking basketball, not geopolitics, dog.
So yeah, they had Strauss. They had Iztok, who's for anyone who doesn't know, he's a Slovenian writer who's pretty much just followed Luka over here, right?
Mhm.
Iztok Franco, who recently moved to Substack, so you can go find him on there and support him now that he doesn't have to get paid by the Mavs. And then who else did we have? We had so we had 3 of the guys who got kicked out from Saturday. Which was interesting. The one dude who got the video of Cuban yelling at him, he was definitely hamming everything up, liking the attention, but I don't think he necessarily did anything too egregious either.
You're talking about the stand-up comedian
Is he?
that I sent you. Yeah, he's
I
got a
haven't watched
Lakers hat on in
everything,
one
yeah.
of those. If you want to play that, or if you can.
No, the guy I'm thinking of, I'm pretty sure is like a long time. Well, oh no, he is because he's from LA. Yeah, he was talking about that. So maybe that is the same guy.
It was the guy that was yelling at his phone.
Probably.
The one that was like out front of the stadium being like, "Fucking man." That video.
I didn't watch all the video. I don't know. But
yeah, there was that guy and his buddy got kicked out. That guy's buddy is sitting courtside tonight at the Mavs game, thanks to Mark Cuban.
Yeah.
And he is not, because of said video of him yelling out from the AC after he got kicked out, just bitching at Tim McMahon and Mark Cuban and all the bullshit there.
Anyways, still don't think he did anything too egregious, really. But
No.
then, there were 2 other guys.
You can catch him at the open mic night.
One,
it's Sharks Comedy Club.
One was that the karaoke guy we talked about. Him and his friend, they got thrown out for their signs. And then today we had a former Mavericks analyst. What do you call Haralaba? What was his?
He was, front office employee.
Part of the brain trust that Cuban tried to put together of Carlisle, Haralaba, Donnie Nelson, and Cuban. Which there was some pretty funny stuff in that. Specifically, he was saying that there was some night where him and Rick Carlisle are just yelling at each other in a hotel room until 4 a.m. about what they should be doing or whatever. Then they win the game that night, and Carlisle's like, "Oh, let's go do it again." He's like, "I'm not doing that again. I'm not staying up all night again to yell at each other."
See, that's when I love these nerds get into the world. Like Haralabob, I get it, you're established, but you don't understand how sick these individuals are. That's why I love these books, brother. That is how you know.
Team now, yeah.
And look, Rick Carlisle may not be one of the greatest players of all time, but he had a very successful career as a player and parlayed that into an incredibly successful head coaching career. And he is 100% sicko.
A known asshole. And that's, sometimes that works.
And a known sicko. So I'm not surprised that he wants to bring it in his 4 a.m. yelling matches, being a part of his regimen doesn't surprise me whatsoever.
Yeah, so I think Haralaba brought some interesting viewpoint just because he was never really on Team Luka. Not like he didn't support him, but he was not, I'm here to support this guy. He's like, I'm just telling them what I see. And he'll say it to whoever.
So
I liked having him kind of round that all off. I'm sure they'll have more people come on and talk about this because it's
not going away.
And
you had kids at SMU chanting it at Nico Harrison while he was in attendance at a game. You had Patrick Dumont.
Dumont was sports mayor, and the new CEO, the new Cent Marshall.
Yeah.
What's his name?
Oh fuck.
Jimmy Weeks or something.
No. Oh fuck. He's a big deal.
I know he was with the Warriors for a while there. I forgot his name.
And he was. But yeah, he's with fucking dipshit Johnson.
And he's getting Rick Welts.
Yeah, Rick Welts.
He's getting booed, and Dumont's like, "Are they booing me? Is this for me?"
Well, I think that's a fair question. He was with Eric Johnson.
I didn't know if he was doing like like let me hear it. Oh, for me? Oh, I didn't know if he was being facetious. You know what I mean?
He looks like a Three Stooges
Yeah, I think
came
Roald
together
called him Tommy Boy today.
He's just, yeah. I mean, it is kind of, yeah. I mean, there is definitely some Van down by the river energy with this guy that I just don't. I'm sorry, Mavs fans. Things were going so well.
And now it's all gone to shit for the foreseeable future.
I guess to add to it, the last bullet point I have, Kyrie Irving changed some of his stuff on Twitter to being purple and gold. And so now there's also that little fire.
Where is the All-Star game this year?
It's in San Francisco, I believe.
Okay, that doesn't work. It was weird. I didn't even mention this. We didn't get into a whole lot of the presentation of the Super Bowl. But the purple and gold stuff for New Orleans felt totally. I get maybe that's part of their color scheme of what's going on down there, but they have a lot more colors, and that's not the team's color scheme. And I didn't like that.
The Super Bowl branding was awful. That whatever that Super Bowl was, the lettering where like some of the letters were more elongated. Like you would see like Philadelphia, but like it would like the L would be super long or the D would be like super long, but the rest would be
guessing AI generated stuff. But
it was so stupid looking. Yeah. But All-Star Weekend, guys, get ready to watch G Leaguers dunk. Get ready to watch a tournament, pickup tournament. Are you dunking?
We got Stephon Castle dunking.
Oh, that's right. Rookies and G Leaguers.
And we got Wemby doing something, I'm sure.
He'll probably jump over Wemby, played out, but they're all, of course.
Wemby's got a UAP in.
Yeah, I mean, they got to find something, bro. If I see another person
he
jump over
Castle
a tall person,
down, or he picks Castle up with the alien UFO abductor light and puts him over the goal so he can dunk it.
People just need to be more creative because Stephon Castle is one of those athletes that can kind of get up there and float. So like that's what I want to see. I don't want to see you go over a tall person. I want to see you go up there and I want to see you defy gravity for like a couple seconds. You know what I mean? Because that's really what his specialty is.
We need flips.
There'll be that. No Caitlin Clark for 3-point shootout.
Soft, hates America. What else can I say about her? Woke.
I don't hate it.
I
would honestly. Well, I do care. Because I thought it was cool that they did the thing with Sabrina, so I thought they should keep that going.
Oh,
but I like that
Caitlin they were going to just grab someone else.
I don't know they are.
No, that's how I figured. My thinking was she was probably like, let's let someone else have some TV time for a bit.
I don't think Sabrina's doing the All-Star Weekend again. Yeah, because she said, I don't think Caitlin Clark is doing it for sure. And then, so that's probably just dead now, but I don't know. Maybe they'll revive it, have something else. Of course, there's a new All-Star format for how they're playing. That'll be interesting mildly. It'll, hopefully. I think it's closer to being better, but we'll see. I think it still probably needs maybe the Elam ending brought into that, but we'll see. But for now, that's it. There's a lot of basketball to be played, but this is definitely the dog days of the NBA because everything happening tonight doesn't matter because all these dudes are thinking about All-Star Weekend already. And All-Star Weekend is just vibes. And then once the vibes are done, then it's just the hard reality is your team worth a shit or not? And we'll figure that out. We'll dissect that for the folks as we go.
My team is not, spoiler alert, or my former team.
We will find out if Anthony Davis is yet to return to the season. Caleb Martin also is a part of that. So there's a lot that can still change. That's the thing is like, it's easy to get down on any team right now, but all it takes is healthy rosters come around April.
All right. I don't want to extend this too much, but we do have to bring up just because dunking on them all is so easy right now. Dumont would ask when he's trying to explain his
Oh, the
side of
Shaq
it.
thing.
Oh my God.
Well,
Yeah,
not even
right.
just
I forgot
start.
that.
We'll start with just the way he says it. Is like, what do you think of all the greats, Jordan?
Bird.
And then he pauses for a while because he can't think of a second basketball player. And then his list of 4 obviously has 2 guys who are notoriously not that hard of working guys with Bird and Shaq. He doesn't mention Dirk at all. Hilarious.
Not
and
a move you would expect from anyone in the Mavs organization 5 to 10 years ago, right?
And then if you look at the age of all those guys he's listing as all these all-time greats when they first won their titles, including guys like LeBron, none of them, they were all older than Luka is now. You know what I mean? It's like you just keep digging the hole by talking. You don't even have to talk.
Yeah.
Dug the hole deep. I think Bill Simmons sadly again hit it on the head with this. Is he said that he was basically like either Patrick Dumont is incredibly obtuse and like boldly obtuse, or he clearly started watching basketball 7 years ago.
And look, I feel I would have to like secret base this and make like a 10-part video, but there's definitely something thematically between what's happening with the Dallas Mavericks right now and maybe what's happening with like Western democracy in general. Where just
And I believe
people with money
I can see the
kind of just
parallels,
come
brother.
in and strip things up and then move on out.
No, venture capitalists, man.
Yeah.
We've had owners do this before. It might be what
And that
Sheba might flip the Suns next year.
that is why this is all on Cuban.
Yeah. I said this. I said this in my rant.
He sold the team when it was the right time to sell, which is
But he
the
didn't-
job that the
He
owner
sold it to the wrong group
But he didn't even sell it for its full value.
either. Yeah.
That's
Because he
fair.
wanted
but
to make more money on gambling and an arena.
Yeah, I think he also couldn't let the Mavs completely go.
Well, he made it worse.
Yeah.
He
Like
did do
I
that.
said,
He did do that, but it's not his first time. God love him.
not his first time making bad
Not his-
decisions.
That's the most
Not his
confusing,
first
maybe the
rodeo.
most confusing thing that we'll have to get back into
Matter-
20 years from now
Well,
is
Matter of fact,
what
he has a history.
guarantees did he think he had in a contract that he was going to have any control over basketball?
Yes, and I also think it's fair that we should mention that Mark Stein, in his recap of this, notably had a part where there was a last-second attempt by Mark Cuban to save the trade,
Yeah.
and he just couldn't get there fast enough, guys.
He's been both sides in it for the last week.
It's really one of his greatest ploys is that he is truly the fence walker.
Anyways, I just didn't want to forget Dumont mentioning the
True.
hard workers Larry Bird and Shaq.
Larry Bird, who loved to drink, and Shaq, who loves to do everything
Larry
but
Bird, who's
work
off
out.
seasons, his off seasons doing like land renovations and paving driveways.
never touching a basketball
Yeah.
until he had to again, kind of shit. Yeah.
All right.
All right. Well, sports is
Marshall
winding
lost
into a
touch.
different time. Yeah.
Go Spurs, go.
Yeah. Let the Mavs fans be mad. It's part of the fun.
How mad are they going to be if I get Cooper Flag to pair with Wemby?
Well, no, now Mavs fans have cooked up an even funnier reality where they end up getting Cooper Flag and they trade him for Kevin Durant because Nico Harrison wants Kevin Durant that bad, which is really a level of
building Nets, alternate universe Nets, basically, would be hilarious. You just swap out Nash for Kidd, and then you swap out
AD for Harden, right? Yeah.
Well, you're bringing KD in.
Harden, yeah, it'd be Harden and Anthony Davis.
Yeah, Davis, yeah.
Oh God, this sounds like a nightmare. I don't
Well,
know.
technically, that's a better
AD
basketball fit.
coach.
Technically, that's a better basketball fit, but it is much different.
Just ignore all the
trade.
ages.
Ignore the ages and the injuries histories.
Ignore that part.
All right,
Klay
Joel.
Thompson.
Yeah, you're gonna get it. Crickets. Hit the crickets button, Patrick. Just hit it. I need this for episodes.
That was who was on the fans tonight. They had Klay fans for everybody. No more
Oh,
Luka.
Klay, poor guy, lost out on money and time.
Caesar, are you gonna go shop for some Luka jerseys though? Like on the real?
Hell no.
You can get a Slovenian one.
I have.
Oh,
two
it's true.
Luka
I've already
jerseys.
seen them. I've seen some Slovenian ones you can go get.
Now you know what my
On
biggest
sale.
regret is actually. Because I'd rather go thrifting for it, where like I know the Mavericks won't get any of my money. But this is one of my biggest regrets traveling. I went to Real Madrid, right? Like their soccer stadium. Inside their soccer stadium,
Oh,
they had a pro shop, and they had a tiny section for their basketball team where you could get custom-made basketball jerseys. And I thought to myself, I could have had a custom-made Real Madrid Luka Doncic jersey. Granted, it wouldn't have been the same design from when he was on the team. Yeah, it was like $300. I was like,
I'm just saying the ones I'm looking at right now aren't too expensive. Obviously, they're not as going to be the quality of whatever you had in there, but
yeah, and like it would have been right there, made in front of me, and like that would have been cool and all. And like, but yeah, I kind of regret. I'm like, damn it, I should have just put that shit on the credit card.
Oh, baseball news.
Yeah.
Oh, what?
Well, Alec Bregman is a Boston Red Sox.
Cool. That's good. I like the talent spreading a little bit.
Okay. Nice. But yeah, no, if I get a Luka Doncic Mavericks jersey, I'm gonna go scavenge like a fucking thrift store for it.
And we didn't mention this. I can't believe they were getting people kicked out for putting tape over the word Mavs on their jersey.
Oh, I didn't even see that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, wow.
They wouldn't let you in if you had taped up Mavs over it, and they did send some people. Well, they tell you to fix it, and then they try to rough you up.
Oh, fuck that. Yeah, no, Mavs are soft.
So, what would happen if I wore my Mavs Rondo jersey right now?
Nothing.
In the public ether. How would that go over? Like, would people just be so confused?
I think most people forgot.
Yeah, would people? Yeah, that's true. A lot of the Luka fans would be like, I don't know who the fuck that is.
What could have been?
Could have been. All right.
I like Rondo. Anyways.
I mean, I've got 3 Rondo jerseys. I think that says enough.
Nice.
Yeah. Nice.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
All right. Well, until the next episode, fellas.
Oh yeah, this was technically episode 100.
Oh shit! Hey, what? Perfect. Episode 100. I got 2 hours of talking about the Eagles. Eat it.
Do we have an outro here? I don't think we do. So this is going to be a
just
really awkward hard cut exit now.
Hard